In 1957, the record industry owned the radio stations, the pressing plants, the distribution channels, everything. They controlled what sold for decades, dictating taste from the executive boardroom down to the jukebox. Then teenagers discovered they had money. A jar of honey coating Pat Boone's throat so he could resurrect a 1931 song. A napkin from a New Orleans diner where Dorothy Labastri rewrote Little Richard's lyrics in 15 minutes. "31 takes of Elvis Presley recorded in fury after Steve Allen tried to humiliate him into silence." These weren't accidents or miracles. They were the sound of a market breaking free from its gatekeepers. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. Well, the industry called rock and roll a fad. They tried to suppress it, ban it, sanitize it, own it. They Lost Teenagers won. Here are the 15 songs that proved it. At number 15, Chuck Berry's Johnny B. Goode arrived in January 1958 from Chess Records' cramped Chicago studio on South Michigan Avenue. The major labels had built a wall. Network radio wouldn't touch independent records, wouldn't let a colored boy's guitar scream through their carefully controlled speakers. Leonard Chess made a calculation. Change colored boy to country boy in the lyrics, slip past the racial filters, let white teenagers with pocket money hear what their parents' gatekeepers wanted buried. An overdriven Gibson ES 350T, vacuum tubes pushed to the edge, master tape saturated until it howled. The payola investigations were already circling. The old hitmaker hierarchy was collapsing under the weight of teenage spending power. Chess understood the industry no longer controlled the market, teenagers did. But what happens when a label refuses to record you at all? Number 14 belongs to Bill Haley and his Comets with Rock Around the Clock, recorded in April 1954 at a New York studio where a broken microphone nearly killed the session. Milt Gabler at Decca didn't want to touch it. The song had already failed once back in 1952, and Gabler saw no future in it. When the chimes ring 5, 6, and 7. James E. Myers physically intimidated Decca's executives, forced them to record it as a throwaway B-side, a contractual obligation nobody expected to matter. Haley's 1950 Gibson ES 175 carried the rhythm while the tape machines rolled through 3 hours of takes. Then came April 1955. The film Blackboard Jungle premiered with this song underneath, and teenagers rioted in cinema aisles across the globe. The industry had tried to suppress it. The market had other plans. Unlike Chuck Berry's strategic lyric surgery to bypass racial gatekeeping, Haley faced pure commercial dismissal, a song deemed worthless until kids proved otherwise. 5, 6, and 7, we'll be right in 7. Little Richard walked into a New Orleans studio with something far more dangerous than a guitar. Number 13, Little Richard's Tutti Frutti, September 1955, J&M Recording Studio in New Orleans. Art Rupi owned Specialty Records, and he was terrified. The lyrics were overtly sexual, the vocal delivery wasn't standard pop, it was gospel-inflected and raw. Richard had recorded a version with lyrics that would never survive radio. Tutti Frutti, good booty. Rube wouldn't allow it. Bumps Blackwell, the producer, hired Dorothy Labostri during a lunch break to rewrite the song on a napkin from the Dewdrop Inn. She knows how to love me, yes indeed, but you don't know what she... Tutti Frutti, all Rudy, sanitized enough to slip through, wild enough to ignite. They recorded it in the final 15 minutes of the session, Blackwell betting everything that this version would survive the censor's scissors. The independent label market was exploding in 1955, moving from 5% to 25% of Billboard's chart positions, and Specialty Records understood something the majors had missed. Teenagers wanted the raw version, not the cleaned up compromise. The gatekeepers were losing control, but some artists had to fight their own label to be heard. At number 12, Fats Domino's Blueberry Hill emerged from Cosimo Matas's J&M Studios in New Orleans, August 1956. Lou Chud, president of Imperial Records, rejected the song outright. It came from country and western. Domino struggled with the bridge melody, and Chud saw no commercial future in it. The engineer Bunny Robin and producer Dave Bartholomew faced a different problem. Domino couldn't remember the lyrics and rhythm simultaneously. They recorded take after take, over 70 attempts, splicing tape from failed takes, creating a seamless master from fragments of frustration and determination. Chud watched the jukebox receipts pour in. By 1955, 1956, 500,000 machines were operating across America, accounting for 40% of all record sales. Radio gatekeepers meant nothing anymore. A jukebox in a diner, a teenager with a quarter, that was the new market. Domino's master became a compositive struggle, and it outsold everything Chud had predicted would succeed. Buddy Holly faced a different enemy, a contract that tried to erase him entirely. Number 11. Buddy Holly's That'll Be the Day, recorded February 1957 in Norman Petty's studio in Clovis, New Mexico. Decca Records owned Holly's contract and had already rejected him in 1956. They'd written a non-compete clause into his agreement. He couldn't re-record the song for 5 years. Holly and Petty found a loophole. File the master under the name The Crickets. Hide his identity from Decca's legal department behind a Brunswick 45 RPM label. A 1954 Fender Stratocaster, serial number 0009, carried the riff. The top 40 radio format was emerging in 1956, pioneered by Todd Storrs, and it prioritized listener requests over label-dictated A-lists. Unlike Ray Charles, who would later improvise an entire song on stage to fill dead air, Holly had to scheme and deceive just to be allowed to record. The major label stranglehold was weakening, but it still had teeth. Holly's solution was legal subterfuge. A false name, a subsidiary label, a master that belonged to nobody the lawyers could sue. Ray Charles chose a different path. He improvised an entire song on stage. Number 10 belongs to Ray Charles and What I Say, recorded in February 1959 at Brown's 20 Grand Club in Detroit. Ahmet Ertegun and Jerry Wexler at Atlantic Records had refused to record it. The song was overtly sexual. It mixed gospel call and response with secular lyrics, and it felt blasphemous. Charles didn't ask permission. His set ran short one night, and he improvised the entire song on stage, forcing the Raylettes and the band to follow his cues without rehearsal. Atlantic brought in an 8-track Ampex recorder, the first song they'd ever recorded on 8 tracks, to capture the live crowd response, the energy of a performance that was never supposed to exist. The 1958-1959 recession had cut major label budgets for new artist development. Independent race music labels flooded the vacuum left in the jukebox market. Charles's improvisation became the template. The song that executives feared became the song that teenagers demanded. Unlike Buddy Holly's legal scheming, Charles simply refused to wait for permission. Sam Cooke's conflict came from inside his own label. At number 9, Sam Cooke's You Send Me was recorded in June 1957 at Radio Recorders in Hollywood, but the real battle happened in the boardroom. Art Roop at Specialty Records demanded raw blues, and R&B Cooke wanted to record white pop standards, something that could cross over to mainstream radio. Bumps Blackwell, the producer, backed Cooke's vision, the Blossoms, a 3-piece female backup group, instead of a traditional gospel quartet. Roop fired Blackwell in response. Blackwell accepted Cooke's contract in lieu of back royalties owed, and You Send Me was released on independent Keen Records instead. The transistor radio was emerging in 1957, portable, private, allowing teenagers to bypass household gatekeepers and parental control. Cooke understood something crucial. The audience had shifted. They didn't want the pure gospel version anymore. They wanted the pop crossover, the version that sounded like it belonged on mainstream radio. Roop's refusal to adapt cost him both the producer and the artist. Elvis Presley faced public humiliation on national television. Number 8, Elvis Presley's Hound Dog, recorded in July 1956 at RCA Studios in New York City. Steve Allen, the television host, had decided to make Elvis a target for moral ridicule. Allen orchestrated a comedy sketch on The Steve Allen Show, deliberately humiliating the young singer in front of millions. RCA's Steve Scholes understood what the executives didn't. The humiliation would only increase demand. He authorized 31 takes of the recording, capturing the raw energy that Allen had tried to shame into silence. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. Bill Bays' bass vocal hit the specific note E-flat, and the master tape captured the fury of a performer being publicly attacked. The Brown v. Board of Education ruling in 1954 had destabilized the racial gatekeeping that had protected the old order. Consumer distribution channels were beginning to fracture along new lines. Well, you ain't Elvis's response to Alan's mockery was to record the song with even more intensity. The gatekeepers had tried to destroy him through humiliation. Instead, they'd created the most powerful marketing tool imaginable. The Platters discovered that even their own label didn't believe in them. Number 7, The Platters' Only You and You Alone, recorded in July 1955 at Universal Recording Corporation in Chicago.
You are my destiny.
Mercury Records A&R director Bobby Shad called the re-recording garbage and not commercial. He wanted nothing to do with it. Buck Ram, the group's pianist and arranger, confronted Shad directly in the control room. A broken piano key marked the session. Ram's hand cramped as he played the accompaniment, and a distinct vocal hiccup on the word "you" at 2:06 became the signature of the master. Ram refused to leave the studio until Mercury agreed to release the track, and he leveraged the agreement as a condition for signing another group, the Penguins. Unlike Elvis's public humiliation or Buddy Holly's legal evasion, Ram used pure negotiation. His leverage over another act forced the label to take a chance on something they'd already rejected. The transistor radio was shifting, listening from family living rooms to teenager bedrooms. Independent purchasing power was bypassing both parental and corporate gatekeepers.
The magic that you do.
Shad's dismissal became irrelevant the moment teenagers could choose for themselves. The Everly Brothers faced 30 rejections before finding their label. At number 6, the Everly Brothers' All I Have to Do Is Dream, recorded in March 1958 at RCA Victor Studio B in Nashville.
And that is why whenever
Columbia Records had rejected them outright. They were branded as hillbilly, and the majors saw no crossover potential.
anytime, night or day.
30 major labels turned them down before Archie Bleer at Cadence Records took a chance.
That I could die, I love you so.
Bleyer offered a deal worth 2.5 cents per record, a pittance compared to major label royalty rates. But it was a contract.
Away, I need you so.
The Everly Brothers' close harmony frequencies required a specific 2-microphone separation setup. Their Gibson J200 acoustic guitar used an open-string nasal tuning that sounded nothing like the polished pop ballads dominating radio. The 1958 recession had spiked unemployment to 7%. But teenagers remained the only demographic with consistent discretionary spending power. Allowances kept coming while everything else froze.
Night or day, only trouble.
The jukebox industry captured 60% of revenue share that year. Columbia's rejection meant nothing. Cadence's willingness to take a risk meant everything.
Night or day, only trouble.
The brothers' view Bye Bye Love had been rejected by those same 30 labels. Cadence's gamble paid off.
Gee whiz, I'm dreaming.
Ritchie Valens insisted on recording in Spanish, defying his own label's fears. Number 5, Ritchie Valens La Bamba, recorded in July 1958 at Gold Star Studios in Hollywood. Bob Keane at Delphi Records was terrified of Spanish-language lyrics on mainstream pop radio. The cultural taboo seemed absolute. Valens had other ideas. He insisted on recording the traditional huapango, on doing it his way, despite Keen's fear of alienating white audiences. Ernie Freeman's rhythmic arrangement on the bridge was wrong by every conventional standard, played on a 1954 Harmony Stratotone H44 guitar that had no business sounding this alive. Keen relented because he had to. The 1958 recession had forced major labels to abandon artist development entirely, and teenagers possessed the only discretionary spending power left in the American economy. Independent labels were acquiring market share by default, not by strategy. Valens understood something Keen was learning. Teenagers didn't care about gatekeepers' cultural taboos. They cared about the music that moved them. Unlike Sam Cooke's internal battle with his label, Valens simply refused to compromise. Paul Anka was 15 years old and writing about his babysitter. At number 4, Paul Anka's Diana, recorded in May 1957 at ABC Paramount Studios in New York City. ABC Paramount's executives were skeptical. Anka was 15, an amateur songwriter obsessed with an older babysitter named Diana Ayub, and nothing about this seemed commercially viable.
Only you can tear it apart.
Don Costa, the session producer, overruled the label's doubts. He arranged the track with a Latin-light cha-cha beat instead of a traditional ballad, using a 1954 Gibson J45 acoustic guitar with a cracked neck that Anka had used to compose the melody back in Ottawa. The executives watched the recording happen, still unconvinced. The 1950s Canadian-American border economic boom had generated a 400% increase in teenage discretionary spending between 1946 and 1957. Anka's age and obsession weren't liabilities. They were authenticity that teenagers recognized in themselves.
All your charms, hold me, darling, hold me tight.
Unlike the Platters' negotiation with their label or the Everly Brothers' 30 rejections, Anka had a producer who believed in him enough to override executive skepticism. The Coasters turned household chores into a weapon against radio gatekeepers. Number 3, the Coasters' Yakety Yak, recorded in February 1958 at Atlantic Studios in New York City. Mitch Miller at Columbia Records dismissed it as juvenile novelty, and the major labels refused to sign R&B influenced acts that specialized in comedy record. Jerry Leiber and Mike Stoller wrote Yakety Yak as a deliberate strategy, a playlet designed to bypass adult radio gatekeepers by targeting the literal household chores of the teenage consumer.
You ain't got time to take no ride. Yakety yak, don't stop.
King Curtis's Selmer Mark 66 tenor saxophone honked in staccato, mimicking a nagging parent, making the song simultaneously funny and subversive.
Yakety yak, don't talk back.
The 1958 United States recession had eliminated discretionary spending everywhere, except in teenagers' pockets. Allowances kept coming while everything else froze. Billboard began prioritizing sales over airplay charts because the market had spoken. Jukebox receipts told the true story. Unlike Ray Charles' improvisation or Ritchie Valens' cultural defiance, Leiber and Stoller weaponized teenage domestic reality itself. They understood that the gatekeeper's power came from controlling what adults deemed appropriate, so they made a song about taking out the garbage irresistible.
You ain't got.
Connie Francis's father gave her an ultimatum: record the song or go to nursing school. At number 2, Connie Francis's Who's Sorry Now, recorded in October 1957 at MGM Recording Studios in New York City. George Francis, her father and manager, had refused to let her record it. The song was a 1923 jazz standard, square, and career-ending in his view. MGM Records was ready to drop her after 10 consecutive failed singles. George Francis delivered an ultimatum in the studio: record it the way he wanted or nursing school. A 1957 Hammond B3 organ and triplet piano rhythm mimicked Fats Domino's style, bridging the generation gap by applying a contemporary sound to a Tin Pan Alley ballad. Then came January 1st, 1958. Dick Clark debuted the song on American Bandstand, reaching 20 million teenagers directly, bypassing traditional radio gatekeepers entirely. George Francis had forced his daughter to record a song she didn't believe in, but that song reached an audience no amount of radio play could have touched. Unlike Paul Anka's producer, who overruled executives, Francis used paternal authority to force a choice that the market would validate.
Now you must pay.
Pat Boone coated his throat with honey to resurrect a song from 1931. Number 1, Pat Boone's Love Letters in the Sand, recorded in June 1957 at Dot Records in Gallatin, Tennessee. Randy Wood, Dot Records president, despised the song, a 1931 composition, aesthetically irrelevant, a dog nobody wanted to hear. Boone forced the B-side recording over Wood's vocal objections. He coated his throat with honey to achieve a crooner resonance, mimicking Rudy Vallet's original from 26 years earlier. Wood's exact words: "It's a dog, nobody wants to hear that old stuff." The portable transistor radio had just been introduced in 1957. Listening power was shifting from the family living room console to the teenager's bedroom, from parental control to private choice. Boone understood something Wood couldn't see. Teenagers didn't care about the song's age. They cared about the feeling it carried. The honey in his throat, the deliberate mimicry of a crooner's resonance, the B-side status that meant nothing once teenagers started requesting it on radio, all of it became irrelevant the moment the market spoke. The industry had built a gatekeeping system that lasted 50 years. It took teenagers with pocket money and portable radios to dismantle it in 5.